there, I'm Lisa, also known as Fibernymph. This is neither a regular 90% knitting episode nor a December special. Instead, this is an information video about two programs that are going to be happening in 2020. One of them is the 20 and 20 Challenge, which is going to be a general podcast related program. And then the other one is the 2020 monthly makes program, which is more Fibernymph Dye Works specific. So I'm going to talk about both of those today. I'm going to start with 20 and 20, and then I'm going to move on to monthly makes. I will say I've already recorded this once, and then when I went to edit it, the half of the video that I did about 20 and 20 had no sound. I don't know why. Hopefully it will have sound this time. The monthly makes half was just fine, so if the video looks a little bit different from here to the second part, lighting-wise or otherwise, that's why. But I have my laptop sitting here on my lap, conveniently enough, and so I'm going to basically be reading, well, I'm not reading, but I'm going to be looking at my laptop so that I can make sure that I'm telling you all of the information in the same way that I have it written in the Fibernymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. There are threads up for both the 20 and 20 challenge and the monthly makes program, so you can go there and get all of the details and read them there, in addition to listening to me talk about them right now. So the 20 and 20 challenge, let's start there. Basically, what is that? And well, let me talk about the origin of it. If you've watched the podcast, you probably already know, but this is basically something that I'm planning to do for 2020. Sorry, I'm thinking about the years. Confused. Yes, this is how I'm organizing my plans, my knitting and spinning plans for 2020. Because, you know, 2020 is a nice number that repeats, and I thought, we're just going to run with that theme of 20. So I basically am inviting you to come along on this 20 and 20 journey with me if you would so like to do, if you'd like to do so. God, this is what happens. I'd like to say this is what happens when I have to do this more than one time, but we all know I can't get words out half the time anyway. All right, let's go back to just reading my script. Maybe that will help me. So, I would also like to add before I even begin, the way I'm describing this is how I'm planning to do my 20 and 20. You are welcome to come along and do it this exact same way, but if you have another way that you want to set your own 20 kind of goals, please feel free to do so, and you are most welcome to post, you know, in the thread as well, even if you're not doing it exactly the way I have it described here. Okay, so what is the 20 and 20 challenge? Let's start there. This challenge is basically meant to be a way to help you achieve goals in 3 specific areas, and that is using stash yarn, using stash fiber, and or creating projects that you've had in your library for prior to 2020. So by library, I mean, you know, either your Ravelry pattern library or a physical library of knitting books or magazines, what have you. And as far as stash goes, I'm defining that as any yarn or fiber that you've physically owned prior to the start of 2020. Okay, so that's how we're going to define those things. As far as patterns go, though, I do realize that some people don't actually purchase patterns until they're ready to make the projects. So we're going to expand the definition of library to be, you know, maybe a list of favorites that you've had for a long time, or things that you've generally wanted to make and just haven't. That can count as far as your patterns. So let's see, where are we here? How about in the case of if you don't have a pattern name that you can use, but it's something that you've wanted to make, there could be instances of that. For instance, if you know next year one of your goals is to make 3 pair of socks, but like me, you tend to make just plain vanilla socks. Obviously, you won't have a pattern name for that. You're welcome to just write plain vanilla socks on your pattern list if that's one of your goals. It's not specifically using up things that you've had, obviously, at least not pattern wise. It might be for the yarn, but it's still valid, because if that's a goal, like maybe you've been wanting to make socks for years now and you just haven't gotten to it, and that's your goal for next year, there's no reason why you can't put it on here even though there isn't a pattern. Another instance might be if you're planning on designing something, so you don't have a name for it yet, you can write design shawl or design hat on there or whatever, if you know that's something that you want to do next year. Is there another reason? There might be, yeah, those are probably the two main reasons I can think of that you might not have a pattern name, but you can still include them on your pattern list. Okay, so how will the challenge work? I decided in a way that would make this both flexible but fun and hopefully hold us to some accountability. We're going to do this on a quarterly basis, so January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, your traditional calendar quarters. So what we're going to do is, to participate, you need to go over to the second thread that I have up on Ravelry for this program. There's two. There's the main thread, which has these guidelines, and it will be our chatter thread for the whole year. And then there's a second thread that will be the lists thread for the 20 and 20 challenge. That will also be there for the whole year, but your lists thread, you're only going to be able to post to it at certain times in the year. Sorry, I need to adjust myself. I feel like I'm falling off the chair. I'm also sitting further back than I usually do. That's odd, but whatever. Okay, so to begin with, you're going to go to the lists thread and you're going to start a thread for yourself, or a post for yourself in that thread. That's going to be your post to use all year long, just one post. In that post, you're going to create your list or lists. So if you're going to do just either knitting or spinning or, yarn, fiber, or patterns, to keep it with the categories I already said, you will create a list for whichever one or ones of those that you're doing. I'm going to be doing all three, so I have 3 lists in my post. My post is already up there. I've already started it. It's not completed, but that's okay, because that's the thing. You can go in and you can modify it between now and January 15th. I will leave that open. So you have from now till January 15th to create your post in that thread and to start your lists. Now, you don't have to fill out all 20 line items right now. Like maybe for the first quarter, you only want to have like 10 items in your list. That's fine. Or 5, whatever you want to do. Because once I lock the thread, which I will do after January 15th, so January 16th, I'll lock the thread. And then those are the items on your list that you're going to focus on that first quarter. Theoretically, anyway, right? And then as the quarter goes on, you may find things that you had on there that you don't really want to do for the rest of the year, or you've changed your mind, or things you want to add. At the beginning of the second quarter, I'm going to give you 15 days where I'll open that thread again, and you can go in, you can add things, you can update things. Like if you finished a couple projects, you can mark them off as completed. If you want to add different yarns, or maybe switch out something, maybe you had some fiber in there you thought you wanted to do this year and you decided you don't now, take it out, put something else in, that's fine. Likewise, if you decide you don't want to fill in all 20 lines right now, then you can just keep adding to it every time that thread is opened at the beginning of each quarter. And that's how I'll do that. The first 15 days of every new quarter, I'll open the thread, I'll unlock it, and you can go in and you can make whatever modifications, additions, changes, updates that you want to make. And then on that 16th day, I will close the thread, and then that's what you'll be working from for the rest of that quarter. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. You just won't be able to change your list any other time other than those 15 days at the beginning of each quarter. I just feel like, I know for me that if I can change something all the time, I will. Whereas if I give myself a list and I'm trying to stick with it, having it there in a way that, it's kind of carved in stone for a little while. That's helpful to me, and I think maybe it might be helpful to some of you as well. Okay, so that's how the lists are going to work. Again, I have all of this written up in the post online, and I have my list already started so you can see. I've also put up sort of like a list template. You can feel free to just copy and paste those. It's basically just a list numbered 1 through 20. It doesn't have anything else in it. But if you don't want to write out your own numbers, feel free to copy and paste mine into your own post in the lists thread. What if you happen to complete a list before the end of the year? That would be horrible, wouldn't it? No, that would be awesome, actually. So let's say theoretically you had listed 20 yarns that you wanted to use in 2020 from your stash. And come the end of August, suddenly you realize you've used them all already. Now what are you going to do? Well, you can add more than 20 things to your list if that's the case. There's no reason you can't, right? The whole goal is to be using things, not necessarily to just stick to 20. So, again, we're going to try to still keep the stash, stuff that you had prior to 2020. It does not have to be logged in a Ravelry stash page or anything like that. This is all going on the honor system. So that's your call. I'm going to be using stuff that I already owned for this particular thing. That's not to say that I probably won't still buy yarn next year or use yarn that I've bought next year. It just won't be part of what I'm counting towards this program for myself, for this challenge. Okay. Yeah, so if you happen to finish off like all the projects that you have in your patterns list or all your yarns or all your fibers, when the next open period for your list is open, you can add more. It's fine. It's that simple. And if you finish your list and there's still another month before the list's open, go ahead, do new things, and then you can retroactively add them once it's on. Because you know what's fun about that? You add it and then you automatically just check it off and say complete. Because that's the best thing about doing to-do lists is like if you've already done like 5 things on your to-do list for the day before you actually write your to-do list down, you get to cross them off right away. I love being able to do that, and I'm sure I'm not alone. All right, let's talk about prizes. Basically, the biggest prize of the 20 and 20 challenge is the fact that you are going to have the satisfaction of knowing that you have used up stash yarn or stash fiber or gotten projects done from patterns that you've owned forever. That's your biggest prize. Finished objects. Yay, right? However, because I enjoy giving out prizes, I'm also going to offer some prizes for this challenge, and I'm going to do that on a quarterly basis. So at the end of every quarter, let's see, how did I do this? I have to look at my notes. I will do a drawing from the chatter thread for a participation prize at the end of every quarter. And then at the end of the whole year of the challenge, I'm going to do a drawing for one prize from each category. And that will be for things that got used. So let's say you had 20 yarns on your yarn list for next year and you managed to use 15 of them and you have them marked off as used. Those are 15 entries for you into that prize drawing for the yarns. And same for fiber, same for the patterns. For the patterns, I would ask that you please complete a project page on Ravelry showing your project and showing that it's completed. Yeah, just because that'll make life easier. Let's see, what else? I'll also do a hashtag drawing on Instagram every quarter as well. So the hashtag will be hashtag 90K20in20. Hopefully I'll remember to put that down here. And I will do that at the end of every quarter as well. Let's see. Let me talk to you about whips, because I don't think I mentioned whips, did I? I don't think I did. I passed right over that. I've had questions about whether we can do whips in the 20 and 20 challenge. Absolutely, because I know we all have some, right? I've decided that you can list up to 5 items in each list that is a whip. So if you have a spinning project that you've started prior to 2020, feel free to list it if you want to finish it next year. You can do that for up to 5 things in each category. I also figure that gives you a lot more playroom as far as how many things that you've got going on now that you might be able to carry on into 2020. For me, like if I have projects, which I do, but my projects I'm either going to post as yarn that I want to finish using or as projects that I want to finish making, but I'm not going to do both because that takes up extra spots. So it's kind of like playing a game here to make things work, but it's still valid. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, whips are allowed up to 5 in each category. Miscellaneous mention here is that there is no requirement for any type of yarn or fiber that you're using in this challenge. It does not have to be Fibernymph Dye Works yarn or fiber. This can be from anything for this particular challenge. However, if you are doing something that is Fibernymph Dye Works yarn or fiber related and it meets the qualifications for the monthly makes program, you're totally welcome to double dip. That's fine. I think that's it. I think I've covered it all. I'm going to hope that I've got sound on this video, and I'm going to go try to edit this yet again. And then I will add in the part that I've already recorded for the monthly makes. So again, if there's any questions on any of this, feel free to go to this thread in Ravelry, the 20 and 20 challenge thread in the 90% in the Fibernymph Dye Works group on Ravelry. Feel free to ask your questions there. You can PM me on Ravelry too. I'd be happy to answer questions in any way. All right, moving on. Monthly makes is coming up next. Okay, 20 and 20 monthly makes. Here we go. Pretty much the program itself is running fairly similar to the 2019 version, except for a few changes. The biggest changes are in prizes, and so hopefully that will make sense to you as I talk about that. So again, 20 and 20 monthly makes. The main guidelines for that. Like last year, all projects that you do for the monthly makes have to be made 100% out of Fibernymph Dye Works yarn or fiber. With regard to fiber, if you have already spun some Fibernymph Dye Works fiber and you have that yarn in your stash, yes, that is considered Fibernymph Dye Works yarn for the sake of this program. And also, as long as it was spun 100% with this, if you had spun it and you plied it with some other yarn, then it doesn't count. So that's the same as last year. Okay, so this year, one of the changes to the program is how we're going to do this period-wise. Last year it was monthly makes, and so changing this to quarterly, which is what I'm doing, sort of makes monthly makes a misnomer, but alliterativeness is my friend, and so I'm not changing it to the quarterly makes program. I'm leaving it at the monthly makes program. Because some things will still be working on a monthly basis. But instead of having to use a monthly minimum of 100 grams to qualify for some of the prizes, this year it'll be a quarterly minimum of 300 grams. So that's basically the same. The only way in which that isn't quite the same is that last year you only needed to participate 5 out of the 6 months of each half of the year. This time there's not going to be a monthly minimum qualification. Instead, you're going to need to log a minimum of 300 grams worth of qualifying projects in each quarter. So basically that means you're required to use 50 grams more per quarter as the same equivalent last year. But hopefully once we get to the prizes, you'll see how I'm trying to make that up to you. Yeah, because over the course of the year, last year meaning 2019, which I know is technically still this year, it gets confusing when I'm talking about a program for next year, which I'm thinking of as this year because I'm reading about it. Sorry. 2019, the whole year, your minimum to get all of the prizes was to use 1,000 grams minimum, whereas in 2020 the minimum to get all the prizes, most of the prizes awarded to you will be 1,200 grams. With regard to the 300 grams per quarter, though, you can spread that out over the quarter. You know, you can still do things monthly if that's what works good for you, or you can wait and do it all at one point in the quarter. Maybe you have the most time to work at the beginning of the quarter or the end of the quarter. However it works for you, as long as you get that 300 gram minimum in per quarter. As with last year, all projects do have to be started and finished for this program within the calendar year of 2020. However, also like last year, the projects that you do for the program do not have to be started and finished within the same quarter that you are posting them to in your finished projects, in the finished projects thread. You could start a sweater in February. You might finish it in May, but you might not want to post it until the fourth quarter of the year. That's up to you. As long as the project was completely done within 2020, you can finagle your posting of it whenever it works best for you. Because I recognize that sometimes you're busier than others, you have more knitting time or crafting time at some points in the year than others, so that's what I like to give you, that opportunity to work ahead and bank some stuff that you can pull out and post later. I know that works really well for some people. Let's see. The single second item rule will still apply this year, so that means if you started a pair of socks or a pair of mittens or something this year that there's two of, but you only got one of them completed in 2019, as long as the second one was not at all started or even cast on, you can do the second item in 2020 and count that item towards your grams for 2020. But just the second item, not the first one that was done prior to 2020. All right, so I think that's all of the rules. Pretty sure I covered everything. So let's get on to the prizes and rewards for the 2020 program, because there are some significant changes in this one. All right, so even though the program is running on a quarterly basis, I am still going to be doing monthly participation prize drawings from the chatter thread. So that will still be happening. But on a quarterly basis, I will do the finished object drawings. This year I was doing those monthly, but since it's going to be a quarterly basis, the finished object thread drawings will only happen quarterly, and I will also do the hashtag drawings from Instagram quarterly. The hashtag for next year will be hashtag 2020FDWMM. Again, hopefully I'll remember to put that down here, but it's in the thread if you need to look it up. All right, so now let's move on to how you earn your free yarn. Anyone who submits 600 grams of qualifying finished objects in the first 2 quarters cumulatively, so the first half of the year essentially, and the second half of the year, you can earn a free skein of yarn in the first 6 months and the second 6 months each, as long as you've submitted your 600 grams. And they do need to be the minimum of 300 per quarter. Okay, so that's pretty much the same as it was last year, except in 2019 it was monthly. This time it's quarterly. So as long as you submit 300 grams of qualifying finished objects in the first quarter and the second quarter, at the end of the second quarter you'll have earned a free skein of yarn of your choice, and the same for the third quarter and the fourth quarter. At the end of that, you'll have earned another free skein of yarn of your choice if you met that requirement. Anybody who submits the full 1,200 grams of qualifying finished objects throughout the entire year, and again, you do need to meet that quarterly minimum of 300 each quarter, you will earn a bonus skein of an exclusive Monthly Makes 2020 colorway that I will design specifically for the program. Okay, so one of the big changes this year is going to be with regard to the Grand Grams Champion. In 2020, I'm not doing Grand Grams Champion, even though you are still keeping track of your grams. Instead, everybody is getting the chance to earn a gift certificate, which is basically going to be like a rebate. You can think about it as a rebate, because anybody who participates in the program, and this is not related to any minimum quarterly or anything like that, whether you participate 1 quarter or all 4 quarters, anybody who participates this year will earn a gift certificate equivalent to 1% of their grams will be converted into a gift certificate of that many dollars. So if you would do the minimum, the 1,200 grams minimum for the whole year, you will be guaranteed a gift certificate worth $12 at the end of the year. Again, you can do as many grams as you want to. I am putting a cap on the gift certificates up to $50. So if you use up to 5,000 grams next year, you could earn that maximum $50 gift certificate. And that is open to everybody. I want to make this a way that I'm thanking everybody for using my yarn and my fiber, and because everybody is putting effort and expense into participating into this program, obviously, and I feel like this will be a more fair way of doing it. Rather than one person getting everything, everybody will be able to earn something, and I feel better about that for 2020, so hopefully you will too. And lastly, oh, by the way, I did the math. It basically ends up averaging out to about a 3.5% rebate if I go by like what the average cost of my products are and the average grams that people used this year in the program. It works out to about a 3.5% average, which I think is better than the average rebate you're getting on most credit cards these days that offer rebate programs. So just to kind of give that some sort of perspective. I don't know. Math and me. Okay. So lastly, the last thing I'm going to do next year, which is totally different. I did not do this year, but it's sort of an extra. It's not really a bonus or a prize. Well, it's not really a reward or a prize. I guess it's maybe a bonus. But at the beginning of each new quarter, starting with the second quarter, so starting in April, I'm going to send anyone who participated in the quarter prior, you'll receive a one-time use a coupon code for 25% off. So 25% off one order that you can use anytime in the upcoming quarter of the program. So beginning of April, if you participated in January, February, March, you will get a coupon code from me, good for 25% off, and you can use that anytime in that second quarter. You don't have to use it at all. I'm just offering it as a way, if you have something else that you want to get to use for the program, you'll be able to get it at a bit of a discount using that one coupon code. So I think that's everything. And wow, I hope I put this together in an understandable fashion, because I feel like I was kind of rambly there, but there's a lot. But like I said, all of this is spelled out. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to post them in the thread, and I will answer your questions, and I will also make any edits that I need to for clarification purposes in the rules for either of these programs that I just talked about. But hopefully you'll be excited about these. I'm excited about them. I think Monthly Makes, I think this will be a better version of Monthly Makes this year. I think it'll make it more doable, because I know some people were talking about, having to do this every month left them less time to work on other projects that wouldn't have qualified, and I understand, and that's why I'm doing it this way this year, so hopefully that will make things more flexible for you. Okay, that's everything. I hope you're having a great December, and I will be back with either another December special or a regular episode soon. So take care. Bye.